Yes, sir. Washington, how are you today?
Good afternoon. It's 1 o'clock, and I'd like to call to order the February 8th meeting of the February 7th, I guess. 7th? Of the Oklahoma County Criminal Justice Authority. Can you call the roll, please?
Tommy Johnson. Loretta Radford. Sue Ann Arnold. Chad Alexander. Ben Brown. Kevin Calvi.
Here.
M.T. Berry. Joe Albaugh. Jim Couch.
Present. Would you stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Mr. Albaugh, would you lead us this afternoon? This meeting was posted properly on February 2nd, 2022. Next up is public comment. Please hold your comments to 3 minutes. Michael Washington.
Well, illustrious horseshoe guest today. We all know that I'm that tree shaker, Michael C. Washington, the big wig. Now then, somehow or another, you have made some great strides with that Oklahoma County Detention Center. And let me tell you, my monitoring that situation is a never-ending process. Let's understand that, by the way. Now then, normally my back would be turned to y'all, but once again, since this is the new year, and you seem to be making some kind of improvements to my amendments, we can dance to the beat. And once you degress, watch out now, because I'll run quick, fast, and then I'll hurry the other way. You have just been presented with a notice of intent to sue for your flagrant, reckless, blatant, and callous disregard for the citizens here to address every issue on your item and agenda that's designed for the purpose of keeping the public informed. You don't just present issues and say, give you 3 minutes up front and disregard us for the rest. I know what I'm going to comment on if I don't like a particular thing that someone may have said. So in other words, get mine out the way so you can keep me silent. Y'all know that ain't going to work, don't you? Now, let me give you just a little bit of intent about what I intend to do for y'all. Now then, notice of intent to sue for monetary damages and injunctive relief. Please let me tell me to slow down if you can't decipher my words. Be advised that I, Michael C. Washington, Chief Paralegal, on behalf of the Oklahoma Coalition Against People Abuse, do hereby give this notice of my intent to sue the Oklahoma County Criminal Justice Authority for its flagrant, reckless, callous disregard for the right of the public, plaintiff specifically, from rightfully and effectively engaging in Oklahoma County Criminal Justice Authority meetings by silencing plaintiff's voice after an item is presented for discussion. Such behavior unreasonably restricts and unfairly hinders plaintiff from addressing each item on the agenda, thus intended for the scheduled public meetings in accordance with the Oklahoma Open Meetings Act. Did I not see anything you didn't comprehend? Please let me know and I will definitely do it again for you. Now then, let me tell y'all one thing once again. We have gotten y'all to talk about building new jails. We like that. But we will not tolerate you building a $300 million jail because we know in the end you're actually talking about building a $450 million jail and you want the taxpayers to pay for it. We're not going for it. Okay? We're going to also like that, and you're going to also start sitting down with me. I'm going to be in your committee meetings, and we're going to sit down and discuss what I can do to further help out the cause of that Oklahoma County Detention Center. I left the D out purposely by that time for a reason. So again, I'm saying to y'all, I am an individual, and I do intend to let you know that I mean business, as you already know. I will not be silenced. I will not be controlled. I will not be programmed, nor will I be a puppet for you. Okay? Let's understand that real nicely and clearly. Now, I only got 9 minutes, so I'll say, hasta la vista, babies, because Michael will be back. Have a great one.
Christopher Johnson.
I'm here to speak on item 8. So our preamble to our Constitution explains why there will always be people coming to this very room to protest as well as do everything else within the realm of possibility to bring accountability. I am someone who applied to be part of this oversight board because, like all of the members of the People's Council for Justice Reform, we put our money where our mouth is. We don't just show up here for the sake of showing up. We really, truly care about these human beings deserving so much more than what we give them. I hope that this advisory board is formed and I, as well as others who are critically thinking people, are on it. Superstition and false narratives should not be our guiding light. Facts that withstand the rigors of scientific scrutiny should be the light. This board should not be like the other think tanks that have been formed, where there were an unfortunate waste of time and energy. Hard work and good ideas thrown away just to grease the wheels for this much larger jail that will only increase our mass incarceration problem. It will cost us, the taxpayers, so much more money and lives. If we actually did restorative justice, we could save millions of dollars from locking people up by putting them back into society so that they can provide for their families and pay into taxes and not suck up any more taxpayers' money. We can invest the money saved back into jobs for the average person with competitive wages. Still to this day, none of you or anyone else has been able to intelligibly and logically explain how opening a jail 4 years or more from now will somehow help people today in 2022. I hope that this board has teeth and can have a streamlined process installed where we can hold people accountable. We understand our jail has structural issues, and I agree that there needs to be a new one built someday, a much smaller facility. A larger facility will only be able to use to house more human beings and keep a bunch of rich folks happy. So let's please stop with this fantastical pipe dream that everyone keeps pushing. Okay? Until we analyze bail reform on all of its avenues, which we can do at the county level, it's being done in Harris County. This is the United States. Oklahoma is not a separate country. It can happen and it's happening in other places. Until we stop saying that only Prater and Elliott are somehow the Legion of Doom and in control of everything, that no one else here can't do anything about it. We need to grow up and develop a spine and start to solve this problem. It's a childish notion to keep blaming other people when you can do much more. It's time that we start living up to the words that are printed in federal documents and in the Constitution. It's time that we start standing up and we do the right thing.
Thank you.
Yes. You're gonna be light in your pocket.
Next item on the agenda is consent docket. There are 3 items, or the minutes from the January 3rd meeting. There's the approval of invoices and claims, and there's the income statements and financial reports. Are there any items that the trustees would like to discuss individually from the consent docket? Hearing none. Hearing none, is there a motion?
I would like to speak. No. I'd like to speak on the consent
Second.
docket. So I have a right to speak.
We have a motion.
This consent docket, Mr. Couch, you know about the laws?
All in favor? Or,
This is a
call the roll,
consent
please.
docket, man.
Call the roll, please.
Can you verify who the voting members were? The motion and the second.
Motion and second.
Thank you.
I'll second. Did anybody?
Joe got it. Call the roll, please.
Loretta Radford, Sue Arnold, Ben Brown,
Yes.
Kevin Calvey,
Aye.
M.T. Berry,
Yes.
Joe Alba,
Yes, ma'am.
Jim Couch.
Yes. Next is receive and accept and discuss report by Executive Officer Greg Williams.
But I appreciate the opportunity to come and present. The first slide is and again, I encourage you guys to ask questions or offer clarification points as we go through this. A general update, as you guys are very much aware, we had 2 in custody deaths last month. Oh, I'm sorry. Thanks. All right, I can get this figured out here. We had 2 in custody deaths. One of the deaths that we had was a resident that we had had for a while. He'd been in the hospital just over 100 days during his stay. He came to us with lots of medical issues, and he was under consistent and constant doctor's care during his stay. And he passed away really kind of as we expected, unfortunately. The second one, I'm really not at large to talk a lot about what's happened with that. The medical examiner has that information, and we'll be getting a report soon. I would like to kind of let you know, and again, as you'll see the presentation, a lot of the presentation today is just kind of give you an update on the health condition of a lot of the people that we have in the detention center. I made a note that, over the last 30 days, we've done CPR on 6 individuals. So again, we've had 2 deaths, but we've had other cases that came in, and for a number of reasons were at death's door at some point. The jail had a meeting, as we do, to prepare for the winter storm that we had last week, the ice, and anytime we predict a potential outage, a power outage, water problems, food problems, staffing problems, road problems, those kind of things, we'll have a meeting. And again, I gather all my key staff together and we talk about what happens when the electricity goes out, what happens if we can't get food, what happens if deliveries are late, what happens if staff can't get here, what happens if the city has trouble supplying water, those kind of things. And I can tell you this year's contingency plan was much, much better and much more assuring than last year's. Last year when we had that meeting, we weren't really sure if the generators would work. We weren't sure if the switch gears would work. We really counted on the elevators going down. Even if the city could get us water, we couldn't get it pumped up to the top floors. The water couldn't heat. So last year's contingency plan was really a nightmare for me, and me and lots of the executive staff stayed at the jail the entire time just because we were anticipating maybe a catastrophic type event. This year was much different. We could count on the generators working. We could count on electricity. We had plenty of food. We knew how much water it was going to take. So I just wanted to report. I appreciate the work that you and the county commissioners and other people have done to help get that physical plan in such a way that we can plan for these kind of events. There was no outages. Again, we really had very little trouble. We had some staff that had difficulty getting to work, but other than that, all the utilities ran, and really we had no issues as a result of the storm. This was some of the numbers that I wanted to talk a little bit about. Currently we have 1,200 patients at the jail that are on some kind of chronic, they have some sort of chronic condition. Many of them have more than one chronic condition, and some of those are duly diagnosed with a chronic healthcare condition as well as a mental health issue. But these are some of the numbers that we had as of late last week. 1,200 chronic care, 701 patients in the jail or some sort of mental health condition that require medication. We had 643 that are being seen right now by a psychiatric nurse practitioner or a psychiatrist. We have 27 patients that are right now either at or waiting treatment at their state forensic center. And again, these numbers are reflective of those that are taking their meds and are really trying to cooperate with medical staff. So you can see that we have a number of inmates that are in very poor condition. As of the 1st of February, we had a total of 1,017 medical prescriptions that were being ordered and distributed, 725 psychiatric related medications. And again, some of the detainees take more than one. Some of them refuse. Some of them are non-compliant with medication. But again, you kind of get an idea of really kind of the overall health and well-being of the detainees in general.
I'm sorry, Greg, before you go on from this slide, what our jail count right now is
1649.
So that's 3/4 of the people.
Yeah.
That are there. So, that's compared to the public at large, that's, a huge percentage of the people that are, sicker than usual. I knew it was high. I didn't realize it was that high.
Yeah.
And of course, we have no bearing on, we don't have any control over who is admitted to jail. They just send them. And so it's a much sicker population than the population at large.
That's right. I think there's a lot of misconception that maybe the general public might have, kind of assuming that the jail population would mirror the community, and that's just really not true. The jail is very much overrepresented by people with chronic health conditions and mental illness. Absolutely. We'll spend about $7.4 million this year on on-site medical care. We'll spend about another $304,000 on COVID care. We'll spend about $1.2 million in off-site care. So overall, we'll spend about $9.3 million in health care. So again, that's about 22% of the jail's budget. Yes, sir. People that go to the hospital, people that are outside the care at the hospital, all different kinds of hospitals. That can be an emergency trip, or that could be an outpatient care. That could be a chronic clinic, or those kind of things. But those are the people at the jail that are really too sick or too got problems beyond really the capability at the jail. Yeah.
Are they in there for a well,
I think probably a combination of all of that. Right. And again, I really didn't break that down for offenses, you know, how many people and what kind of offenses they have or been charges that they've been charged with. I didn't break that down.
So if you, I think you indicated earlier that off-site medical budget, how do you transport to an off-site medical?
Yeah, there's always at least one and often two that transport that. And again, if they go out by ambulance, and we'll have one in the ambulance, one that chases them and, you know, behind them, and another to stay with them once they're there. And then while they're at the hospital, that's a very good point. We contract with other agencies to do hospital security as much as we can. We do a lot of that coverage, but really the entire time that somebody is at the hospital, then I have one or two officers with them at the hospital, and then I backfill their position at the jail. So you're exactly right, and I appreciate your pointing that out. But yeah, people at the hospital are very staff consuming.
So that eats into your.
No, that is not counting my staff. That is counting medical staff. All these numbers just go to medical staff. My staff are not included in these numbers. Yep, thanks for pointing that out. Next slide. Thanks, Mark. Triple cell is an issue that we have discussed several times, and really our goal at the detention center is to eliminate triple celling. We've got 120 cells at the detention center that really meet standards for 3 people, but we don't really like that idea, and we don't go with that. We want everybody to have a permanent bed. We want everybody to have just one cellmate or no cellmates, and so our goal is to eliminate triple celling altogether. We have got that down to 30. We started this month with 197, and as of February the 3rd, we got down to 30. So even though the law and the stats would really allow us to have triple cells, we really are working that number down. DLC transfers, we've transferred 159 people out of the jail during January to the Department of Corrections. Currently, we have 73 awaiting, and again, our goal is to get that down to about 50. If you look at the numbers about, you know, sentencing rates and transportation rates, we think that we can get that and keep that hopefully down to about 50. So again, COVID plays a huge part in that, and how many Department of Corrections can bring in and isolate and quarantine, and some of their procedures and things kind of limit that. But right now we're doing very well with 73, and we're right on track with our goal. Mark could talk to you a little bit about releasing.
Good afternoon. As Greg said, right now the number this morning was about 1,649 inmates in the custody. Now for January, that's about 1,702 is what our average is. That's actually the lowest we've had this fiscal year. It's been started back in July. It was about 1,760, and it's come all the way down to 1,708. Last month released 1,760, booking 1,811. That's right about in line with what we've seen over the last few months. So that's pretty much stayed level.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
You know, this body was polite when Mr. Washington was speaking, as was everyone in attendance here, polite. It's hard to hear enough the way it is. So do us a favor and don't talk over people.
I'll do that. I'm glad you did. Because you respectfully stated that, I will.
I've been here now for I don't know how many months, and you put on a show every time talking over people, and it's absolutely rude, sir.
Okay,
So please sit down and give everybody the honesty.
I'll accept it. Shut your mouth. Good boy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Now then, go ahead and do what you need to do.
Now, January for the COVID count, as you remember last month, we had a very high number, which pretty much mirrored what was going around in the community. That number has gone down. Right now, we only have 1 active detainee case of COVID. Had a few more that came off over the weekend, and then we have 1 employee. Now, again, that is lower than the December number, so we're actually starting to go down. So hopefully we can keep that going down. I remind you that what we test for COVID is someone who's exposed, symptomatic, maybe has a court date. Everyone who goes to court must get tested, goes to the hospital, request from another agency, or request from a detainee to get tested on that. Of course,
those numbers are amazing. Considering what's going on in the general public right now, those numbers are absolutely.
Yes. And of course, we're also coming in the next coming month, we're going to be detailing a new COVID protocol That's going to be in line with what we see nationally as far as testing goes too as well. It's something that hasn't been available to us, which will now be available. We're going to be studying that and talking more about that. So the next meeting, we're going to have some more details on exactly what we're going to do going forward. Now, also as far as budget goes, what Greg talked about, right now, $304,000 a year. That's for staffing. That's for administrative staffing only with turnkey. That's how much we've budgeted for this year to just spend on COVID itself. That's about $8,000 a month on COVID testing alone. So $32,000 we spend each month just on COVID testing.
Mark, before you go on
Yes.
from this slide, you mentioned that we test people going to court as a requirement. Does every county do that?
I'm not sure. I don't believe so.
So that's a
From what I
requirement.
understand, I know we do. I'm not sure if anybody, I haven't researched that, but I've been thinking that we're the only ones.
We're the only one?
Yeah, the only one we know of that requires testing.
That's a big expense.
Which is probably why our numbers are where they're at.
Also want to announce a few hires. Mr. Devin resides right over there. He's been hired as the general counsel. He comes from a wealth of experience in practice. We also hired a new jail security director, Major Brandy Garner. She comes to us from another county where she ran the jail there for a long period of time. We want to welcome them, and we're glad to have them on our staff.
We did lose a detention officer, Osman Swann. Again, he passed away on January the 28th. He'd been an employee at the jail since March of last year, and he was found deceased in his apartment on the 28th. So again, I just wanted to mention him in public just to say how honored we were to have him as an employee, and we know that his family and his jail family as well are grieving our loss. We did have a number of homeless folks that came into the jail this last weekend. I think the police were trying to get them out of the cold and get them out of the weather. And we did have a number of those folks that came to the jail. We were able to release them immediately, get them booked in and get them released. And again, the Homeless Alliance and Task and a number of our partners were able to help us. And we did locate housing for all those that would take it. This is just a photo of some of our captains and some of our staff that were helping them get dressed out, give them clothes and shoes and dry socks and coats and hats and those kind of things. So I just wanted to put that out as, again, when the weather comes, it's a hardship for a lot of folks, and we were able to step up and help some of these folks in the time that they really needed some help. And that's it. That concludes my presentation. Yes, sir.
Chairman, I'm sorry.
Sure, go ahead.
Were you able during that 2 or 3 day period to serve meals to those individuals as well?
We did. We had sack lunches, that anytime somebody's brought in and booking, we have sack lunches that we have readily available to help them with that. We did pack up some food that we were able to give them. Staff even purchased soda pop and things out of the vending machine as they were, kind of waiting for a ride and things. So yeah, we were able to help them in that regard as well. Yes, sir.
Other questions or comments from Mr. Williams?
Just thank you.
Oh, go ahead, Chief.
I'd just like to commend you, Greg, and your staff, especially on the reduction of the triple selling.
Yep.
That is amazing that we're down to only 30 there. And I know that's been a goal of yours. I'm very happy to see that we're reducing that as much as we have, and hope we can continue.
I appreciate that, MT. It is a big thing, and the staff have really, that's been an effort that we've been able to really come to the meeting of the minds with all the staff, and really that's been a unified effort led by William Monday.
I just want to say thanks. Keep up the great work. I echo what the chief said about, very impressive on getting that down. And congratulations and welcome to Mr. Resides. He's a fantastic lawyer.
Any questions for Mr. Williams? Thank you, sir. Is there a motion to receive his report? A motion? Second? Second by Mr. Berry. Please call the roll.
Loretta Radford, Sue Ann Arnold, Ben Brown, Kevin Calvi,
Yes.
MT Berry,
Yes.
Joe Alba, Jim Couch.
Yes. Motion passes. Next up, we have a presentation regarding teaching and saving kids, and Pastor Theodis Manning is here with us this afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you for this opportunity to stand before you. I'm Theodis Manning, the director and co-founder of Teaching and Saving Kids, youth and young adult program. And I'm using my presentation is in Word, so I have to use this, so it may be a little difficult for me, but we're gonna see if we can make it work. TASK is a 501c3 not-for-profit organization. I provided you copies of our presentation, so I'm gonna do my best to breeze through this and be prepared to answer any questions or concerns that you may have afterwards. I also have some help with me to help me answer any questions that I may not be able to answer. Um, uh, our program was created originally in '07 from a holistic approach, and to my knowledge, we're the only program in the state or possibly the country that has this three component factor in our program. Those three components are listed there, and underneath each component is listed the services that that component provides. Uh, the community component we've been at since March of '07. Pre-release component that consists of Department of Corrections, which we've been working in. We've been working in for about a little over 14 years now, and then our post-release, which some folk call reentry. We've been doing that since 2005. This is a virtual piece that we would like to introduce to help us provide effective services as it relates to trauma and crisis intervention. We believe that this would provide proactive intervention as it relates to help for those that are in crisis or dealing with trauma. DA David Prater has already given his stamp of approval on this with one stipulation, that is that the iPads that we propose to use be maintained by the jail staff and not the inmates. But he is in support of that. We believe that the virtual piece will provide proactive support as it relates to mental health, substance abuse, volatile situations, and suicides and homicidal threats, those type situations. It'll provide immediate trauma support, even in situations where a person may be grieving due to a lost loved one as they're locked up. Assault victims, even the perpetrators, have to deal with the trauma of what they do, and we support them as well for is trying to keep them from traveling down that same violent path. It'll provide additional support for high-risk inmates, those with violent tendencies. They'll have access to our peer recovery support specialists instantly, as fast as the guards can get that iPad down to them. It'll provide immediate de-escalation where we will provide swift intervention and also short-term safety plans to try to deal with that situation immediately. And of course, there'll be instant access to additional support, not just for the residents, but for the staff as well. We've had many conversations with the administrators, Mr. Williams and Mr. Mundy, and we believe that partnership will work very well. Some of our objectives and projected outcomes are, number one, to reduce facility costs. We believe that fewer incidents equate to fewer costs, and we want to promote rehab opposed to prison for nonviolent offenders. I had a conversation with Mr. Prater. He has agreed to sit down with me and develop an alternative sentencing program for those who commit, and especially those who graduate our program within the county jail. Our aim is to reduce the violence, reduce the number of injuries, and of course, we want to eliminate homicides. That should not be a reality in our county jail as it is in prison. But we know as Mr. Williams talked about earlier, one of our goals is to provide effective intervention that we can prevent people from losing their lives in the county jails as it relates from a resident side of that. And of course, we plan to increase the safety and morale, not just in the facility, but when we do this, many of the people in our county jail will not go to prison. They'll go back to our community, whether it be on bail or acquitted of their charges. But if we allow to operate in the county jail, we make contact with people, whether they go to prison or in the community. And our goal is to continue to work with those people, whether they go to prison or back to the community. Some other objectives and projected outcomes is to help transform the culture of that jail, which Mr. Williams and Mr. Mundy has already started that process, and they're doing a good job. We believe we will be able to help expedite that process, especially concerning the residents that are in the county jail. Our goal is to reduce the jail and prison population through our alternative sentencing program and the aftercare that we provide. Of course, we want to reduce the recidivism. We want to counteract that vicious cycle of men going in and out of the county jail. And then, of course, finally, we'll provide additional support, not just for the residents, but for those guards that work there. Some of those guards could use a little additional support, and I got that from them. I didn't come up with that on my own. At this time, if you don't mind, I'd like for you to hear from a couple of our long-term members who have been affected by each one of our components. I will say Mr. Parker is not here. His brother unexpectedly passed away, and he's dealing with that. And then, of course, he has to work and couldn't make it today, but the other two are here. So I want to bring up, if you don't mind, Brother Will Shepherd.
Good afternoon. How y'all doing? I'm a member of TASK, and the reason why I'm a member of TASK because I spent some time incarcerated. While I was incarcerated, I got a newspaper article in the mail, and I looked at it. I seen they was doing something in the community, and after I changed my life, I said, well, I still need to get over some things. I changed my life from being a criminal, going back and forth in prison. I've been in prison 4 times, got a long record, and I did 22 years incarcerated. But I had gotten saved by the gospel of Jesus Christ at that time, but I also needed to know how to make that practical. And they was making it practical out there. They had boots on the ground. I like what I seen in the article, Pastor Manning, in his program, and I was thinking to myself, I need to get involved with that. And so when I got out, I had a little girl, and the little girl at this time, she had turned 6 years old, and I had to go back in before I finished all of my time out. And when I went back in, my little girl, she started going to the after school program. She's 10 years old now. And she started going to the after school program, and it really helped her out, helped our family out. And so I've been real active with TASK ever since then. I've been out 4 years, a little bit over 4 years. And like I said, she was 6 years old when she went into the after school program. And what they taught her was a lot of things and supported my family. But they taught her, like they taught me, conflict resolution, how to stay out and not go back. See, I knew how to get out, but I didn't know how to stay out in the community. So that program taught me how to stay out. Now I'm a business owner, got a successful detailing business. I learned how to detail while I was in prison. I was just, by punishment, was washing all the trucks and in the vans and all of the things that they did at A&R, the transport section. I was washing all that, and I turned it into a business. Instead of making $14 a month, I'm pretty much making some pretty good money now. And so I just think TASK is a lifesaver. The boots are on the ground and they're doing what they're supposed to do. And I just connected with it, and I've always been a big supporter of it. Not only a supporter, but I'm a strong member of it now. And so I know I'm not going back. I ain't even been back to jail since. And so I just wanted to let you know TASK is a wonderful program.
What's the name of your detailing business?
Oh, it's called Wheel on Wheels.
Wheel on Wheels?
Yeah, I brought you some cars too if you want them. Yeah.
After this snowstorm, you may get some business out of it.
Congratulations, Will.
Yeah, thank you.
How's everybody doing today? My name is spelled wrong. Might be a good thing. That way you won't get to know who I am. But I would like to break it down a little bit. Let me give you a little bit of details about my life. I ended up facing 50 years violent, 75 years violent, 2 life sentences, 60 years violent. I grew up in the gangs, joined gangs when I was young. That's all I knew. When I went to jail, that's all I knew. Sometimes man's nature is your worst enemy in jail, because being a man, you feel like no matter where you're at, you have to push forward. And that's exactly what I was doing. And, just teaching and saving kids, when it came around in my life, it's a glimmer of hope in prison. Let me put it like that. It is a glimmer of hope in prison. I might still be in prison if I would have never joined the program, because the men that are in the program, they're from my background. So I can see eye to eye with a lot of guys. And the hope that they gave me coming back into the world was some very strong hopes. And in Jesus' name, I've became an operations manager at Roughneck Oilfield Services. I own my own lawn company. I got the skills to open up any company that I wish. With that being said, I want to really thank the Pastor Manning and the Teaching and Saving Kids program, because if I was going to make it in jail, that's exactly what I was going to do. But the program did change my life. The programs do change lives in there, because the glimmer of hope in that darkness is sometimes not there. And so the glimmer of hope that comes out from the streets, it's there. So that's what changed my life. And thank God that I did become part of the Teaching and Saving Kids program. And I'm doing great. I feel happy. I'm not going to complain. I'm not a complainer. I'm not going to say here that jail was tough. I learned my strong lessons when I needed to learn them, and I appreciate it. Even though it hurted sometimes, I learned my lesson. So, and God bless everybody. I just said, like I said, these programs right here, they really are a light in the darkness, and they go a long ways. And like I said, I'm 45 years old. I'm still healthy. I'm still pushing. My mind is still there, which is the most important thing. They brought my mind back from a state of mind of complacency in prison. Complacency is where my mind was trapped. And I didn't see no difference being in there or out here. It didn't make no difference to me. Like I said, programs like this, they bring a glimmer of light, and they struck light in my brain, and that's where I'm at right now. And I'm going to keep pushing forward, and I'm a fair guy. I try to do what's best. God bless the world.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you. We call him Tito. When Tito decided to change his life and stay with us, he was high ranking, and his fellow peers sent 25 people to kill him. They stabbed him 13 times in prison, and he still just stuck with us. And I think by the grace of God, he knew he would be able to stand here one day. Brother John Parker was going to speak. As I said, he came to us in our post-release component. He's been with us about 8 or 9 years. He started gang banging at about 12 years old. He's done over 18 years in prison, and still got a bullet in the back of his head to this day, as evidence of what he's been through. But now he's not only a peer recovery support specialist, he's a case manager. He also had worked for the state Department of Mental Health, and then he moved on to a better job with the Oklahoma Diversion Hub, is where he works now, doing very well. He has custody of his daughter, raising her by himself, and doing very good. I just want to speak on his behalf. That's just a few. We have many testimonies as such, but we knew we were limited on time. In this presentation, we provided you copies of the budget that we're asking. It says 421, but that includes about 12,000 of in-kind. So the actual asking is about 400 and a little over 409,000 is the actual asking. That pretty much concludes in a nutshell our program and what we plan to do and the objectives that we have. At this time, I want to do my best to address any questions or concerns that you may have.
Mr. Brown.
Pastor Manning, you mentioned trauma several times in your presentation, and in the I don't know if it's been a long time or a short time, but professionals in the mental health field are learning a great deal now about trauma and how it affects people, starting with trauma that happens, when they're children and when they're babies. Anyway, there is a book I want to recommend to you, and this book happens to be #1 on the New York Times bestseller list. It's been there for 70 odd weeks. The name of it is When the Body Keeps the Score. And it's directed, I think much of it is directed toward professionals, but it's also I think, good reading for just anybody who brings the kind of experience that you bring. And if you haven't seen that book or haven't, uh, I think I have a copy of it. I'd be glad to give to you. I don't have it with me, but anyway, I highly recommend that book.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Brown. Appreciate that. And I'll definitely do that. And we lean on our counseling agency that we have, Another Chance Counseling Agency, and the professionals, the therapists, and all of that to help train our PRSS how to deal with trauma from a professional standpoint. Most of them have the experience because they've been there, been dealing with the trauma, and they understand what people are going through. And just that relational type connection helps in a lot of cases, especially short term, until we can get them plugged into long term help. Thank you, sir.
Well, amen. And on the peer connection thing, and of course, Pastor, you and I have visited about this before, and my
Yes, sir.
understanding is you're wanting us at the county to look at, funding this upfront. And I called you after I got your presentation, and first of all, I'm sold on your program. I think it's a great thing.
Thank you, sir.
I know you're looking for the trust to maybe make a recommendation to us at the commission about this regarding ARPA funds. First issue there, of course, is legality and all that. So,
Yes, sir.
but the question I posed to you is obviously, we can provide some money, but for it to be a sustainable thing, you have other sources that you hope to tap into once you establish a track record. Is that right?
Yes, sir. We are already speaking with other potentials, donors, and sponsors. And one I'd like to bring to the forefront is one of my board members, who is a pastor, has a group that he's a part of. It consists of about 42 different churches. And he's setting up a presentation that we can present and solicit their financial support on a monthly basis as ongoing support, and we're pretty much sure that they're going to want to, because they're not in it looking for a profit. That it's going to help serve the population that they serve in their churches, and that's not including the group of pastors that I'm affiliated with on the Northeast side. We're going to do the same thing there. So there are various different avenues that we are seeking for to help us for as sustainability.
And I know you've worked with Greg when Greg was at DOC in some of these facilities. I see him nodding.
Yes, sir.
It's a good thing. I asked Greg about it. So,
Mr. Williams actually was on the forefront of helping us get into the prison back in 2007. At that time, I spoke with him several times, and he was a big help in a lot of situations. Mr. Mundy, who's not here, he allowed our program to be established at William S. Key when he was the senior warden there. And we've been there, still there. They hadn't closed it, but they were talking about closing it, so we haven't been since COVID. But we were there about 7 or 8 years. Some of these guys here were actually part of that program there, and he's very familiar with our program and how it works.
I have a couple of questions, Chairman Jones.
Yes.
Pastor Manning, exactly how much money are you asking for from the board, from the commission?
Actually, it's a little over 409,000. Let me look at this budget right quick.
And 404.
It says 421, but again, that included about 12,000 of in kind. So the actual amount is 409,569. Is that right? Is that 404? Okay, I'm sorry. Sue Morrison is our CPA, and that's why she's here to help me stay straight on all of this. But it's 404,000. 404,569. Thank you, Sue. Thank God you're here.
Is it for just the jail workers or all the programs?
No, just the jail. This is a project that we put together strictly to operate in the jail. But as I said in the presentation, the community will benefit from it, because the majority of the people that go to the county jail wind up back in the community. And so we feel like it's essential that we get there, that we can make contact right there. That way we can work with the ones that's going in as well as the ones coming back to the community, of course, with their permission. Some folk are not ready for help, but the ones that are willing, we work with them.
Okay, a couple other questions. So in your pre-release component, I'm trying to understand the relationship with what is the iPad coming in and the DA approved stipulation?
That's strictly with the county jail. What we're proposing is that the way we set this up and set it up in the jail, there's different groups, gangs, if I will. I know we don't like that word, but it exists in the county jail and prison. And we make relationships with the ones that have the influence, primarily the leaders, and we're able to do that because most of the guys in our program are guys that's been there since this stuff started in Oklahoma back in the 80s, and they have the influence even though they're not out there doing all that negative stuff anymore. So we establish and we appoint 1 to 2 people for each major gang that's represented in that jail, get them to buy into our vision and our mission, and we utilize them to help deal with their own people as it relates to violence. For instance, if we're from 2 different gangs and one of my guys get into it with his guys, they bring that to that what we call task intervention board, and they tell them how to deal with that. Now, the iPads, if the guard identifies someone that is having trauma or grief or maybe some type of volatile situation that he's threatened with, they can actually, yes, they can actually get that task intervention board member, because there's such a distrust between administration and inmates. Get that task intervention board member, take him an iPad to that person. That person now have access to one of our peer recovery support specialists right on the spot that we can help talk them off a ledge. A lot of times it's just a matter of giving them a little time to talk and help them see through. I mean, people get knocked in the head over soup if they don't have anyone to talk to before they act out.
But now, thank you for your comments. Now I understand why you gave greater point. Jail to keep the iPad, not the works.
And these will not be recorded iPads. So I had to get his permission because when we're dealing with mental health and all of that, you get into the HIPAA laws and all of that. And I made him understand that. And he said he didn't have a problem with it being confidential as long as the jail maintained the iPads and not the inmate on the pod.
Well, something else, just as an aside, but something else you may not have considered, what kind of conversations take place on that iPad may be discoverable. I don't know if you all thought about that or not, but you may want to discuss that with your counsel, your people who work
Yes,
with
ma'am.
you, about what kinds of conversations you get into on those iPads with that group member.
Yes, ma'am. We won't discuss no cases. It'll be strictly dealing with crisis and trauma intervention. They'll have about 30 minutes per call, and the whole goal is to get them plugged into the help that's already there at the jail. They have a mental health unit there, but sometimes it may take a while for them to get the help, or they don't receive the help because they don't trust the system.
Okay, but none of these programs all of these are releases from the Department of Corrections. So like the county jail, how does your company plan to use the county jail? So like an individual gets arrested, can he come out of jail on some type of deferred program instead of moving through the system?
Well, what our program is strictly focused on the violence control, and behavior transformation. We want to help them change their mindset. Now, according to Mr. Prater, he's open to setting up an alternative sentencing type program where if he see that a person, nonviolent of course, may deserve another chance for treatment opposed to going to prison, he's willing to do that. So that may happen in some cases. And I will say, ever since we started this program in 07, the DA's office have used our program as an alternative sentencing.
Do you encourage, have you talked to DA Prater about having that being a true deferred alternative program so that those individuals don't end up pleading guilty? They actually work under rules and regulations that if they break, then they continue with the charges rather than entering a plea of guilty to become a part of it.
Yeah, the answer is yes, and I made sure he was okay with me saying that before I put his name up on this presentation. He has agreed to sit down, and we will work out a official alternative sentencing program that the DA's office acknowledge and respect.
That's what actually helps the jail, is to keep them out of jail.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, and I got one more question.
Yes,
I'm sorry
ma'am.
for taking so long.
Yes,
here,
ma'am.
But this is something that I really want to be clear about.
Yes, ma'am.
So on your budget, I don't understand, at the bottom you have a square that has a case manager, your staff includes case management, so do you currently have 26,000 people involved in your program?
No, ma'am. We are asking for, in that budget includes 3 office workers, a case manager. I think I'm on the right track, Sue. Correct me if I'm wrong. A case manager, a office manager, and a administrative assistant.
Okay, so that's what you want to pay the case manager?
Yes.
$26,000. Okay.
Yes.
And then the office manager is 41, 600.
Yes.
And then you have other figures here. So the executive director would be paid a salary. There's 2 numbers here for the executive director. Well, no, I'm sorry. There's only one. So the executive director would be paid a salary of $30,000.
I believe that's what we put in the budget. Is that correct, Sue? 40. I'm sorry, ma'am.
Okay. And who's the executive director?
I am. Yes, ma'am.
Do you have other commitments outside of town?
Yes, ma'am. I have a whole lot of commitments, but I've already taken care of that. I have very experienced ministers, and one of them just spoke to you, and we have 2 of them here, and he is the pastor of our prison ministry. He handles all of that. We have 3 churches in prison and 2 programs, and he oversees that. I have another experienced minister, Attorney Tony Coleman, is one of our ministers. He's been trained and ready to step in and help operate the church, because I know that my time is going to be required, especially in the initial stages of this right here.
Since you had indicated that you really that all the money you're asking for, the 404, 569, is going to be with the jail work, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So how does that pan out in dollars in terms of and I guess what I'm getting at is so many of these nonprofits become heavily laden with administrative expenses.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
they're not able to use the money where it really is supposed to be used.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm just curious if on your budget, if you have actually looked at how much of the money that you would ask for, that $404,569, actually goes to the jail program, and how much of it would support your administrative costs? Have you all done any kind of figures on that?
You want to help me on that? I'm going to ask my CPA to help me. Thank you.
Hi. There we go. Thank you. Okay. The budget has the 3 columns on the budget. The first is the administrative, the second is the actual program, and then the third is the total of the 2. So what we're looking at is a little over 165 or 265,000 is direct program costs, and then about 156 is the administrative side. That's our estimate. We're of course always hoping that more of it is going to be actual program. So, and then that brings a total of 404.
Okay. And so what you have underneath here in your columns is what makes up that total figure. Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, I see where I am now.
Okay.
Okay. I wasn't quite following the ledger there, but I see the appropriation. So of the funds that you would ask for from us, only $156,317 would go toward administrative costs of the nonprofit.
Well, actually, of what we're asking from you, 139 is administrative and 265 is program, because we are planning to get private contributions, and that'll cover the admin as well as the rental space is already in kind. So yeah, so so it looks even better when you say 139 and 265.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Sue. And just to be a little clear, we plan on spending over 6,000 hours in the jail dealing with the guys in the jail. We'll be in, if Mr. Williams approve it and he can fit us in, we'll be in there, at least 5 days a week.
Okay.
4 hours during the day and 2 in the evening.
So where would they put you in the game?
Well, we talked about, they have a basketball court type area that they don't use. When we did our tour, that's the only place that I could see that we could put it, which is why we really need another jail, because the new jail will have areas that we can have programming. This jail wasn't designed for that. But we got an area, and Mr. Williams, we talked about it, and we can look at trying to make that work.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry, any more questions?
Other questions for Pastor Manning?
Thank
So,
Amen.
so as you know, that the Oklahoma County Criminal Justice Authority actually doesn't have any funds. Our money is what we're allocated by the county commissioners. And I know that ARPA may have an opportunity here, and I think the commissioners will go back and evaluate this.
Yeah, so, you know, I mean, I guess, I don't know if it's within the agenda item, if the trust would like to recommend that the county look at this. The big issue there is going to be, you know, can we do it legally? I suspect there is a way to do so, but it's, you know, that's not up to me. We do have a consultant that does this stuff all over the country and can advise us about that. I, for one, you know, you had me at hello when we met a few weeks ago and you went over the program with me. So I think it's a great thing. You've you know, answered my questions about the sustainability of it. You know, we'd have to go and do the legal research, and then I'm one of 3 votes, but I suspect you'd get a very good reception from the other commissioners as well.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Just the only other thing I noticed on here, you had an item for a grant from Department of Mental Health, and there's no dollars on there. So have you applied to them for a grant yet? Or
we're talking with them.
Okay.
They are interested. They have a what they call criminal justice reform department now, I think, which Sister Wilson, Anisha Wilson, oversees, and they are looking at the opportunity of investing as well.
Right, because if ARPA funds does allow funds to be spent for mental health facilities and things of that nature, and the state has exponentially more money than the county does. So
okay, all right, man. And by the way, hi, Mr. Albob. I met him when he was the director at Department of Correction, and don't mention. I understand. I understand. Thank you all so much for allowing us to present before you, and we really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, Pastor.
Thank
Yes,
you.
you're welcome. Mm-hmm.
We have a motion to receive the report.
So move.
For the presentation.
Second.
We have a motion second to receive the presentation. Please call the roll.
Loretta Radford.
Yeah.
Sue Arnold. Ben Brown.
Yes.
Kevin Calvi.
Yes.
M.T. Berry.
Yes.
Joe Alba.
Yes, ma'am.
Jim Couch.
Yes. Motion carries. Item 7 is possible action regarding contracts. There are no contracts today, so we'll strike that item. Item 8, regarding the appointments to the Oklahoma County Criminal Justice Authority. We have several appointments that have been made by the trustees and several more that need to come in. So if you haven't made your appointment yet, please do that this week. And item 9 is an announcement that the next regularly scheduled meeting for the Criminal Justice Authority in 2022 is Monday, March 7th, which will be 4 weeks from today. Item 10 is to consider and approve entering into executive session regarding regarding A, B, and C that is listed on the agenda. It would be appropriate for a motion to go into executive session as per the item listed on the agenda.
So moved. Second. There we go. You got it.
I want to y'all advisory board. Nobody spoke to me.
Motion second.
Loretta Radford.
Yeah.
Sue Arnold. Ben Brown,
Yes.
Kevin Calvi,
Yes.
M.T. Barry,
Yes.
Joe Albaugh,
Yes, ma'am.
and Jim Couch.
Yes, we are in executive session.
Yeah, how do I get on the advisory board committee, man? I need to be tough. How do I get on it?
I think we've all understood your desire to be there.
People from different sides and different thoughts. But yeah.
Okay, we come back in here. Okay. I just want to make sure. Yeah.
They're gonna hand you them. Mr. Williams. Mr. Williams. Mr. Williams. I want to be on your advisory board. How do I get this?
Giving trustees. Yeah. So none of us.
Yeah.
Well, I was talking to, oh yeah. I was talking to, because I thought the application, thank you for that. My resume and the application process that was done actually through. Oh no, it was through the actual jail website. And Craig pointed to me and said, "Hey, here you go." And yeah, the
3, 4, 5.
Thank you. I'm just gonna leave this there. When we nominate our people,
Okay, we are now out of it, executive session, so we'll need to have a motion to approve leaving executive session. Is there such
So
a
moved.
item, number 11? Is there a second? Motion is second on item 11. Please call the roll.
Loretta Radford,
yes.
Sue Ann Arnold, Kevin Calvey,
Yes.
M.T. Berry,
Yes.
Joe Alba,
Yes, ma'am.
and Jim Couch.
Yes. We need action on item 12.
You could have a motion to proceed as discussed in executive session.
I entertain such a motion.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
We have a motion and second. Please call the roll.
Loretta Radford,
Yes.
Sue Ann Arnold, Kevin Calvey,
Yes.
M.T. Berry,
Yes.
Joe Alba,
No, ma'am.
and Jim Couch.
Yes. Motion passes. Item 13 is to consider executive session, approve a resolution regarding legal representation of Gable Gottwalls. Is there a motion to approve that engagement letter?
So moved.
It's actually a resolution, motion to approve a resolution. And there's not a new engagement letter.
Okay. Well, I will move to approve the resolution.
Is there a second?
Second.
Please call the roll.
Loretta Radford,
Yes.
Sue Ann Arnold, Kevin Calvey,
Yes.
M.T. Berry,
Yes.
Joe Alba,
No, ma'am.
and Jim Couch.
Yes. Motion passes. Item 14 is adjournment. Is there a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Loretta Radford,
Yes.
Sue Ann Arnold, Kevin Calvey,
Yes.
M.T. Berry,
Yes.
Joe Alba,
Yes, ma'am.
and Jim Couch.
Yes. Motion passes. We are adjourned.
Jim, when we appoint our, oh, okay, we appoint our one person.
But let's see, the meeting's over.